in the local city, across all states, and across all countries. Showing daily on Startimes, channel 124, 9 a.m. West African time, only on KAFTAN TV. Stay connected with us on our social media.
Many thanks for joining us on Joy Asonye Live this beautiful evening. My name is Joy Asonye, where we'll be focusing on two major topics today. First of all, analyzing the insurance penetration rate in Nigeria. Despite the struggle to enthrone a regime of vibrant and developed insurance sector that meets global standards, insurance operators are looking forward to the new government at the federal and to bring a major turnaround in their operations, as the penetration rate is pegged at 0.5%, contributing just 7.82% to the economy. We'll be discussing that and moving on to talk about the Gubernatorial and how Nigerians can surmount the past hurdles. To discuss this, we'll start with the insurance story with Bosun Adeyeye, who is a risk expert and will be doing justice to this topic. Bosun, thank you so much for being part of the program.
Thank you for having me, Joy.
Yes, so let's just start with the new administration that's coming up. Like I said earlier, we have just 0.5% penetration rate at the moment. While a lot of challenges have been earmarked to cause that, a lot of people have said it is inadequate distribution channels and also public interest and awareness on the subject matter. Just tell us, first of all, what you think is the biggest challenge to widening that gap of insurance.
Yeah, thank you very much, Joy. I think this journey has started for quite some time with you at different fora. This evening, I think I would like to say that the future of insurance in Nigeria is very promising. Not minding where we are coming from as a nation, because each time I look at the insurance industry in Nigeria, it gives me a big sense of concern. But at the same time, when you look at what is happening in the last, what has been happening in the last few years, particularly that culminated in the new price regime you were referencing the other time, you will see that we're actually going towards the right direction. Right. We are moving slowly but steadily. When I came to this industry, I think I've spent like 1.5 decades in the industry now. It used to be better than this, better than where we were some years back, because at the point when NICOM had to come out to say, we have to stamp this had to happen in this industry concerning the price regime, they saw that it was going the very horrible way. You can imagine people are always quick to tell you, referencing what happens in Europe and America, but always forgot that, I think I was listening to your figure you were quoting when you were doing your intro. As of today, Nigeria industry has only covered about less than 2% of the population in Nigeria.
And not the 0.3 that I mentioned earlier.
No, it's 0.3, no. It's more than 0.3, but right. It's far less than 2%.
Wow.
So it's a bad, owing to so many factors, one of which could be the either mythology or the reality of experiences of Nigerians over time. When it's a common phrase, a common clause we hear as insurance practitioners, they will say insurance does not happen, does not work in Nigeria. Yes. people are saying that if you ask them, they don't have personal experience. Many of them heard it from their late father, their uncle, somebody who they were close to, sharing one horrible story with them. And because of that, they made up their mind that, oh, insurance does not work in Nigeria. Some could be related to issues of sharp practices or unethical practices of the old times, where some people have been, their fingers have been badly burnt by the unfortunate treatment they got from certain practitioners. Another one could be linked to the fact that our government has not shown deliberate concern to deepen what effect can insurance actually make within this polity called Nigeria. Because in other climes of the world, insurance companies own banks. But in Nigeria, you will see banks owning even more than one insurance company. It's the other way around. And it's not far-fetched because it's a matter of resources you can deploy. So if banks, because what has brought the bank to where they are today in Nigeria is because of the deliberate interest the government actually have in them. And that is why today, one of the most powerful business organ or unit in Nigeria is the bank. So all these problems Nigeria that we have in Nigeria today about the issue of cash and this thing, the fate of Nigeria has been decided and possibly determined among the bankers committee. Before any Emefiele would do any bank this thing, they will have discussed it in that place. We're also looking forward to a time when insurance as a unit of the economy will be given robust, such a prime place. Because if that happens, insurance will not be where it is today. And I can tell you for a fact that insurance is the only profession or vocation I know that exists for the survivor or the positive going concern of other vocations and businesses. For example, if you have a company that is into production, the only thing that protects whatever value, property, any asset you have in that business is insurance. So we exist to preserve other businesses. So unfortunately, there is a paradox of value here. We're supposed to have and enjoy a prime place because we do something that is very unique. Unfortunately, we are not enjoying that kind of attention from government. I
remember having this conversation with you over 2 years ago where we talked about Nigerians not having that confidence in insurance companies. But isn't it time for us to get over that? Now there's a regulatory body that ensures that insurance does work. Nigerians can complain if it doesn't. What are the insurance companies doing to ensure Nigerians develop that trust and that confidence again in the system?
Yes, I think the enforcement part of what we need to do is still, for me, is lagging behind because you can make all the noise. Nigerians being who they are, anything that does not operate within the realm of enforcement, we don't pay attention to it. That's the way we are as a nation. So the area of third party that everybody is complaining about now is because that's the only aspect of insurance that Nigerian government showed interest in. And when you look at it, people have reduced it to police let me go. And it shouldn't be. The essence of third party insurance policy is to ensure that while you are driving your own car on the road, there is this person that is not known to either me as an insurance company or to you as the owner of the property you are using on the road, but that you could cause a damage to. And when you do that, you are culpable, you are liable. And in order not to put you in a precarious situation or put that person in a situation where it will begin to feel a sense of loss, that is why you have third-party insurance. Before now, it used to be 5,000 naira. But by January 1 this year, it was upscaled to 15,000 naira. And, as at that time too, the limit of liability on
was
third party
lower.
was 1 million naira. But now it has been upscaled to 3 million naira. So we have for other ones like that, for the one for own goods, it's now 20,000 naira. For staff bus, 20,000 naira. For big trucks, it's now 100,000 naira. For special ones that serve special purposes, 20,000 naira. For tricycle and these other ones, I think 5,000 naira. So, but they've increased the value component of each of these policies too. So those ones that are...
But my question will still be, I mean, we still see people fighting the roads because they do not know.
Sensitization,
yes.
What is the company doing? As a matter of fact, the whole industry, I would say we are doing a lot. But possibly what we are doing is still not good enough. For example, in our industry, there is something they call NIA, Nigerian Insurance Association. These are the coming together of all insurance companies that operate in Nigeria. They have an association where they do a number of things. They've been trying to, you see them advertising individually, and they also do some programs. Recently, I think before end of last year, there was a program in Lagos that I think I watched, hosted by African Insurance Association, which one of our GMDs in the country, Dr. Smart, was the leader of that program. Again, just before end of last year, there is a group called NCRIB, which I represent, NCRIB, Nigeria Council of Registered Insurance Brokers. We were 60 years by last year. So a number of programs were organized to sensitize the public. We did in Lagos, we did in Abuja, we did in Kano, and a number of other cities in Nigeria, just to ensure. But have we done enough? No, far from it.
I want to also cut you there to talk about the outcry after this increment of insurance policies, especially that which is even often implemented. When you look at the nation at the moment, one of the very important reasons people gave was, I mean, look at us. We are already suffering so much. Is this the right time to increase that? Despite the increment in the component, like you say, the value of what to get should you have that unfortunate incident. Would you say that it's giving room for Nigerians once again to be seen as people who want to cut corners? Because I don't know if a lot of people can afford all the many charges that comes into owning a vehicle, and then adding insurance at 15,000 naira for just third-party policy. Don't you think it's a lot for Nigerians?
I made some statements when I was talking the other time.
Right.
And I want to reiterate them. I said there is paradox of value somewhere. A few years ago, I was fortunate to sit down with one of the first ladies in the North. I don't want to mention the state now, so that I will not be doing... we sat down on a Saturday afternoon, and in the course of our discussion, the woman told me, said, but our government does not have money. That I would prefer if you can bring investors for us. We don't have a 5-star hotel in our state. That I can assure you, whatever I can do to push it, I will do it. And I told her, I said, ma, do you have an idea of how much your state government invests in buying vehicles in every budget year? Is that at least maybe like around 5 billion, okay? If you use 5 billion naira to invest it in buying vehicles for a calendar year, and we're asking you to use 250 million naira to protect that investment, does it make any sense to you that if at the end of that 1 year, maybe 1 billion naira component part of that investment encountered risk, some of which could be total write-off, and if you have paid 250 million naira somewhere, and somebody are taking off that headache from you, so that whenever anything happens to any of those vehicles, the third party that has taken that headache off you will just need to be notified, and you will receive your check. Does it make any sense to you? He said yes, so that it makes a lot of sense. So if that makes a lot of sense, then you should not be thinking about you don't have money now. Because you don't have money, that's actually the reason why you need to do insurance. So that the meager resources that you are guarding seriously can be there for you to serve other purposes. Today, Nigerians have every reason to complain. But I tell you, I by God's grace, I have like 2 cars I use. just one of them I have to renew this morning. And the guy was asking me, why are you not paying full
comprehensive
this thing?
comprehensive
And I
policy.
said, it's comprehensive, but I'm not paying full year. I was paying it twice. And I said, it's because I need to do this in order to take care of other financial responsibilities. People also don't know that they may not need to pay this thing once. You can pay twice as it's convenient for you. But situation where you say, because I don't have money, that's why I don't do it. If anything happens to that car while you are using it, is that car is grounded, or it takes you back to where you used to be before you upgraded yourself to using a car, or it will affect certain people in this Abuja. It's a common thing that people say that vehicle owning in Abuja is not a luxury. It's a necessity. And if something is a necessity, it means it must be kept working at all times. So if you have a 3 million naira car and somebody is asking you to pay 150,000 naira, I think that is not out of place.
It isn't. However, I would like to just ask that when you say people would not mind paying this, we thought that when the dragnet is open, I mean, the vehicle is one component of the insurance, that we see more people. We thought with more people in it, it would rather come down, if you ask me. And that's the same thing we keep hearing when we talk about health insurance. Okay, health insurance would even drop if we see more people. The dragnet is open for it. So now when we see this increment, are we going to expect increment in the health as well, in the housing, in life? Does it reverberate in all aspects of it?
As a matter of fact, insurance is a business. It's not a charity. 2 years ago, group life in Nigeria was increased from what it used to be to 6 per mil. So, and when it started, many of the practitioners were not comfortable, but today I think it pays for the industry. The same way this vehicle thing, I was saying something the other time, it was going bad so much that people were already pricing comprehensive cover in Nigeria for 1%, from what it used to be 10% when I came to Abuja some years back. From that percentage, they came to 5% that time. People were pricing 4%, 3%, and particularly government agencies. They're supposed to be the one to guard this thing.
But it's a business, whether it's government agencies or not, you should negotiate.
It's a business. But to answer your question frontally, the reason why Nigerians who do insurance locally and who have experience of insurance abroad usually complain about our rates is because over there, what they pay compared to what they pay here, they are at par. Because in US, my wife's sister lives there, and whenever we talk about this insurance, it's like she came to Abuja last year around the same time. And while she was in Abuja, her insurance got expired in the US. She was worried. And I said, why? She said, when you go back, you will do. He said the moment she does not renew at the time, they will come, remove the registration detail, and she will pay fine when she's renewing again.
Right.
That's enforcement. I mentioned it the other time. So if Nigerians will be serious, today in the US, you have petty things in the house. You insure them, not only life, not only motor. But in Nigeria, to even buy, I have a number of people who have motors, vehicles worth 20 million. They don't bother. And it also speaks to something. If you look at Abuja as a place, you have so many estates in Abuja that for years they have never been occupied, and those estates are there. The question that comes to mind is that if that person who owns those estates actually collected the money from banks and they are paying interest on it, do you think they will leave it like that? No. People who collected money, loan, to procure a car, before you can even get that loan, you will have gotten insurance component into it before bank will release such money to you. But it's like there is this certain economic activities that we cannot define that bring money to the purses of people. That's why they can afford to do without insurance. If truly those monies can be, there's a group called Follow the Money. If it's a kind of money that you genuinely earn, you will know that you need to protect every dime that you earn.
Okay, before we go into how Nigerians would understand how to claim their benefits, let's talk about the underserved communities. Let's talk about those who in the informal sector. When can we open the dragnet for them to be part of the insurance sector in all aspects?
There must be a deliberate, concerted effort from all stakeholders.
Not just
not
the
just
insurance
the
companies?
insurance practitioners. I just said something to you now, referencing what happened in the US. So if that lady knows that if she decides not to even renew in the next 2 years, nothing will happen, do you think she will be worried? No. They understand that insurance as a subsector of finance has GDP to contribute to the economy. Today, as we speak, insurance contributes less than 1% to the GDP of Nigeria. But it has capacity to contribute up to 10% if the right steps and actions are taken by government and other stakeholders.
Right.
So if the NIA, the NCRIB, the Loss Adjusters Organization, and all of us say this is where we are going, we want to work together and project the image of this industry better than what it used to be. I can tell you we will achieve little without the right collaborations coming from government and its agencies. So if we can get government to be involved and to be interested, particularly a government that understands business, and I hope that we'll get to a level where we'll see a government that actually understands that every of these sectors and subsectors have roles to play in the aggregate GDP of our economy. I think by that time, we'll move away from where we are today to where we're supposed to be. I think that's what I would say for now.
But you didn't quite respond to those in the
underserved places. Yes, I think efforts should be made by all the stakeholders still. Okay, for example, we were on a stakeholders meeting on NHIS, and we're talking about the fact that the new NHIA is no more NHIS again, it's now NHIA, is saying that there must be a universal coverage for all Nigerians. If that should happen anytime from now, it means no Nigerian will have any excuse not to access health facility under the pretense of, say, I don't have money to go to the hospital. Because government will make deliberate plan for each Nigerian to be able to have access, unhindered access to health facility. So the same way, they can decide to open up, because I said it the other time, we are in business. We are not charity. So there must be a stimulation of the business environment in such a way that at the end of the day, people who are going to those areas, opening up those areas, will do that at a profit, no matter how slim that profit could be. But not that you just go to a place where you know that it's not viable for business. As we speak today, it's not all 36 states of Nigeria that have vibrant presence of insurance. There are some states in Nigeria today that many insurance companies don't even have office there at all. So deliberate effort should be made by those state governments to attract the service of this sector. So
when insurance operators say
Yes.
they are looking forward to this government overturn around their operations, what do you think that means? What are you expecting the new administration to do so that there would be that sector will be more vibrant?
I think whatever government will need to do will actually be through the regulatory commission, which is NICOM in our own case. So if the new government that is coming on board understands the role that our industry can play, I think it won't be out of place for the government to call for interagency, consultative, possibly forum that will have something like a kind of meeting of minds from both the side of government and from those of us who are practitioners. And possibly in that kind of meeting too, we have Nigerians who are beneficiaries of what we are doing, whether at corporate companies or even at individual levels, so that people can come, ventilate their concerns, talk about what we can do better than what we have been doing. The best our approach to go forward may not even come from some of us who are practitioners. It could come from those people that we have been serving over the years and who are disenchanted and feel like they deserve better. They can speak to government and say, oh, I think we can do this what we are doing better than what we have been doing it. The approach can be changed. Let new modalities be adopted. So I believe if the new government understands, they do this in bank now. They do this in some other sectors of the economy. Right. So they can do the same thing in insurance. Let's begin to see that government is so much, see the importance of our industry, and they are ready to throw their weight behind us. So that in the next 1-2 years, when we are talking about the contribution of each sector of the economy, they will say insurance has also left where they used to be in terms of GDP contribution.
I must thank you for being part of the program, but if you have your last thought on the matter before I let you go, what would it be?
I think what I would say is that Nigerians should not see the new price regime as anything negative. It's actually, if you look at it very well, one, it is to save the industry so that we don't go into extinction. Two, it is to also ensure that we have value. Those who are doing insurance have value for their money. Because what normally takes a company to a point where they cannot pay claim is when they don't have robust financial base. But this new price regime will give us, alongside what we just discussed, expanding the dragnet to ensure that more people come into insurance. Is just about pool of resources. Exactly. That's what it's all about. So the more the merrier. The more people we have, the more resources we can actually throw around. So I think the overall benefit is actually for the insuring public. Right. So that's what I would say.
I must thank you for being part of the program. Bosun Adeyeye, he's a risk expert and an insurance expert as well. Thank you so much for being part of the program. We'll go for a short break right now and return to discuss how Nigeria can surmount the hurdles faced in the past presidential elections towards the Gubernatorial elections. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
While wrapping up the day, unwind with the reminiscence of the day's news from home and abroad with KAFTAN TV 7 p.m. news.
Good to have you join us on KAFTAN News at 7.
Are living in up to 5%. Our young people, we propose the Harmony Symphony.
It's good to have you join us on KAFTAN TV News at 7.
We found that the 10 naira not actually sufficient.
National, foreign news headlines. Get balanced, accurate facts on the latest news in business, politics, entertainment, sports, and more. Live from our studios.
Many thanks for watching. And join us again at 9
KAFTAN TV News.
My name is Sheilo BCFR, the Black Comedian of the Federal Republic. I tell you, when it comes to the best of entertainment, the best of news, the best of information, something that is educative, you're right here at the best place to see that. It's KAFTAN TV. You know what? Increase the volume. Keep watching. Don't touch the dial, okay?
It's your girl Nkechi Blessing Sunday. I want you all to keep watching KAFTAN TV.
Please keep watching KAFTAN TV. It is the best TV station in the country. They're doing an amazing job. Please do not touch the dial. Keep watching. Thank you.
My name is Sheila BCFR, the Black Comedian of the Federal Republic. I tell you, when it comes to the best of entertainment, the best of news, the best of information, something that is educative, you're right here at the best place to see that. It's KAFTAN TV. You know what? Increase the volume. Keep watching. Don't touch the dial, okay?
It's your girl Nkechi Blessing Sunday. I want you all to keep watching KAFTAN TV.
Please keep watching KAFTAN TV. It is the best TV station in the country. They're doing an amazing job. Please do not touch the dial. Keep watching. Thank you.
In a world where information is vital to every individual, a platform where technology is a medium to pass information, you can always catch up on all information written in the newspapers, even without having one. Join us on The Press.
Speaking live from the Abuja studio.
On the Punch for this morning, the Blueprint newspaper, Nigerian Tribune this morning.
As we give you information and opinions about current events and topical issues on politics, business, sports, entertainment, weather forecasts, and lots more in the local city, across all states, and across all countries. Showing daily on Startimes, channel 124, 9 a.m. West African time, only on KAFTAN TV. Stay connected with us on our social media handles.
I pursue the federal government to pay us our damages.
YouTube, KAFTAN TV.
A very tricky one. And then the bottom line is this.
Website www.kaftan.tv.
Point is, the youth must come together. The pendulum can swing in your favor.
Instagram, KAFTAN_TV. KAFTAN TV. Imagine a beautiful world. In a world where information is vital to every individual, a platform where technology is a medium to pass information, you can always catch up on all information written in the newspapers, even without having one. Join us on The Press.
Speaking live from the Abuja studio.
Welcome back from that short break. Now, tomorrow is the 18th of March, the most awaited day, especially after the presidential candidate. And Nigerians have continued to task the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, to make use of key lessons learned from the conduct of the presidential polls. That will happen on February 25th to improve the conduct of the state elections. And today I'll be discussing with Deborah Yusuf, a political analyst, on how INEC and Nigerians can surmount some of the challenges that was faced during that poll. Deborah, so good to have you join us.
It's good to be here, Joy. Thanks for having me.
Yes, I'll just start with the postponing of the Guba polls a couple of days ago, really, when INEC came up to postpone. And I know some of us have had the conversation. If INEC had postponed the presidential election, would we have had the hitches and the logistical and technological hitches that was faced? Now this has been postponed, and I think it's supposed to have their house together. Do you now trust that we would see that integrity in our electoral process?
First of all, I was one of those persons that was expecting INEC to actually postpone the presidential elections by a week or 2 weeks, and just because there was some sort of sense that they were not as ready as they should, and we saw the results of that. So with those gubernatorial elections and with the postponement by 1 week, we are hoping, we can only hope. Like I always say, it's only on the day of elections that we can tell and actually assess how prepared INEC are really, no matter how many times they come up to tell us they're prepared and they're ready. It's only on by tomorrow we'll be able to assess the extent of that preparedness. So I'm hoping that this 1 week should have done a lot for them to, you know, put their house together, resolve the logistics issues, deliver materials on time, ensure that their, you know, the POs and all INEC ad hoc staff have whatever they need, and they also arrive on time. At the very least, if any of them should arrive late, it should not be heard, as we heard on the 25th of February, that some did not show up at all, some showed up by evening or 3 hours late. I think the minutes where Nigerians should be able to tolerate of lateness should not go beyond 30 minutes. So these are some of the things we are hoping to see that INEC, you know, put their house in order. And beyond, you know, the logistics arrangements and all that, we are hoping to see that they've resolved the IRF portal, whatever issues they were facing with the IRF portal and the beavers, and whether it be network issues, whether it be, you know, the issues with the site. We are hoping that we would see live transmission of those results and the excuses and the irregularities that you know, happened
now
on 25th.
Speaking about excuses, and one of them is that it's glitches. It's unprecedented. It does happen. That does not really excuse anything. It makes you even think, oh, are we expecting more glitches at this point? So do you think it would affect the turnout by Nigerians? A lot were very disappointed at the conduct of the polls. Do you think Nigerians would trust the process again? Having watched, I don't know if you watched some Nigerians who were tearing off, destroying their PVCs. Now, what would you say about voter turnout?
Well, speaking about voters turnout, I will say that yes, you know, the 25th elections in February was not as encouraging as it should be, especially, you know, with the expectations that Nigerians had. But and definitely, I'm not expecting to see the huge turnouts we saw on the 25th of February, the same huge turnouts at tomorrow across, you know, the 28 states. But I won't say that. I would like to remain positive and predict that the gap wouldn't be so much. That is, we shouldn't expect a lot of voters apathy, except particularly in states whereby there have been, you know, persons inciting violence and trying to scare people away, and that is where, you know, the security agencies need to up their games. And despite the restrictions from the Electoral Act that does not allow, you know, officers be within 300 meters of the polling units to be armed, they can be there but not armed. But we're nevertheless hoping that we'll have adequate security that would deter you know, mischievous elements from carrying out whatever you know, violence acts they want to carry. Because one thing must be said about, you know, this violence, it contributes in the it's a form of rigging or a form of disenfranchisement of some sort. Because once there's violence in the polling unit, the elections at that point is automatically cancelled according to the Electoral Act. So that it's very important, because despite the fact that we saw huge you know, turnouts at the 25th at the presidential and National Assembly polls, it did not necessarily translate to the huge, you know, the numbers of persons that were actually able to vote. When we are comparing, you know, the voters turnouts with the 2019 elections, you would see that it decreased, not because people did not show up to vote, but people were disenfranchised because INEC did not show up at their polling units as early as they should, or they didn't show up at all, and because it was going to midnight, they had to stop people from voting. So we are hoping that whatever you know, bad that happened on 25th of February, we won't have a need to repeat it. Because when people keep saying that, oh, hope INEC is, you know, learning from past, I'm like, we've had enough. We've had enough instances. We had enough elections for us to learn from. And I don't think that this is a matter of whether we're learning or not learning. Is the matter of political will to actually carry out the mandate as you should. And then talking about, I just quickly want to comment on the glitches. We make it sound as if it's sometimes out of our control, and I just want to quickly point out, I think it was you know, the Ministry of was it Information, Digital yes, Information, that came out to say that there was over about, I think, 6 point something million on election day, and then 12.9 million leading to elections, and attacks on cyber attacks that they were able to prevent. that was one key word I took from that report when the Minister Pantami was talking, that these were the attempted attacks. They didn't actually pull through. Right. And that is to say something about how we can also be proactive and take measures to actually improve the system. That despite if the system is slowing down, if the servers are slowing down, we should have tech experts that are online on ground at the moment and working on it to ensure that it begins to, you know, get back up as soon as possible. It should not be something that we just, you know, lift our hands in surrender and say, oh, well, it has happened, there's nothing we can do. There's obviously something we can do. We've severally over and over again commented on how Nigeria's tech industry is booming and growing very fast. I don't see why we cannot, you know, begin to reap the rewards of that booming industry.
So according to the Center for Democracy and Development tracker, about 109 people have died because of election-related violence or politically related violence. Are you concerned? I mean, we still have recorded some successes compared, if you're comparing it to previous presidential election cycle. However, are you concerned that you will see that voter intimidation again mar our Guber polls?
Very, very much concerned, especially because even before the polls, even before the election day, we are already seeing voter suppression going around. People that you should otherwise be more careful in the speeches that they make are making videos and you know, posting them online to intimidate voters. We've seen videos of MC Olumo, who we know is a close, he works allied with you know, the governor of Lagos State. And even so, and the one thing that majorly concerns me is the fact that how we see those videos making rounds and rounds and no arrest is being made. These persons are supposed to be, you know, called into custody and then interrogated as to why they are inciting violence and trying to suppress, you know, the electorate, suppress voters. We've not seen any of that. And then another thing that also worries me is how it takes almost a gazillion years, and that is just to say in a matter of speaking, for the governor to actually come out and address such statements and distance himself from it and, you know, call, because this is someone that is under his government, is employed under his government, and call them in order. We want to see a more, you know, a good leadership, in the sense that no matter how thirsty you are for power, there are certain bounds you don't cross. And this is not just because there's a lot of, the searchlight is very much shown on Lagos State, that it's almost as if we're forgetting other states. Nasarawa State was also a hot point at during the presidential elections. And even as I speak to you now, the SSA to the governor of Nasarawa State on religious matters has, you know, made a very provocative video inciting people to you know, be violent if the people don't vote for the governor. And this is something that the governor of the state should react almost instantaneously to distance himself from that statement, and to also call his SSA in order, and also
even
for the security,
if possible, even punitive measures.
Exactly, and that's on the part of also the security operatives. The security agencies should be very much proactive in that regard. It's not for them to just be parading on election day and moving around. No, on the days leading to election, your searchlight should be wide, and you should be seeking people that are, you know, causing, inciting violence, and taking them into custody, interrogating them, making arrests, making prosecutions. That will serve as deterrent to others that want to, you know, be mischievous on that day. But we are seeing very, very slow steps, and it is very concerning, especially because this is something that happens over and over again. And it's almost as if when we say we're learning lessons, it's like it takes us ages to learn a lesson that a 5-year-old should have picked up.
Yes, you know, you and I have always spoken about punitive measures. When we are learning these lessons and there's no corresponding punitive measures, we do not see the actions. And you had mentioned in passing the electoral violators not being called to book. We have had the peace accord where politicians, or rather political actors, especially during these elections, signed the peace accord and all of that. What would you like to see for those who we have mentioned right now, who have publicly used very volatile words towards their supporters, or those against them rather? What would you like to see the government do at the moment?
First of all, I would like to see the governors in those particular states come out in very clear terms without any ambiguity to condemn the words of such persons and to distance themselves, and also within their own space, also met out sanctions. You can even that warrants a sack as far as I'm concerned.
Right.
So, and then on the part of the security agencies, we want to see arrests, we want to see prosecutions, because it's one thing that if it's to say that, oh, they arrest offenders, electoral offenders, we've seen that, and then after a couple of days, weeks, they are released and they go back to their normal business. We want to see more, stiffer measures, and want them to approach the court, and then there be prosecutions that does not just relate to money, 500,000 naira fine. No, if it's a 2-year jail term, they should go to jail, and that will serve as deterrent to others that want to toe that line. So these are the things that I'm hoping to see, and we want to see these things happen in quick successions. The moment it comes to the attention of whichever governor or whichever person that is that is caught in that web should quickly react. It should not be a matter of discussion. People would have trended it for about 3 days, and then they are calling on UCSOs, are writing press statements and releases. Oh, we call on the government, we urge the security. No, it is a personal response. It's your responsibility not to wait until you are being pressured before come out to clear the air. And that is one thing that I'm hoping that we will see. Although, but if I'm talking today, it's already evening of the eve of the election day, and they've not come out, then it's already late for them. But at least it's going to be better late than
Deborah,
never.
do you find it as interesting as I do when governors are crying out that opposition or whoever is trying to compromise INEC officials and ad hoc staff in their state? Do you find it interesting? And what do you think that often means for electorates who are watching and saying, what's exactly going on? We're expecting a fair and credible polls.
I think, with what happened on the 25th of February, there's been a lot of doubts on INEC's ability and capacity to actually carry out a credible elections. And in terms of, I would tell you categorically that it's almost wishful thinking to believe that, whether the police or INEC officials are not being approached by political actors and to, want them to, sway a certain way. Well, which is why, as the leadership of INEC should be a more, firm leadership that always deter their staff from towing that line because of the consequences. And consequences in that regard is not just consequences as, oh, you stand the chance of losing your job or being suspended without pay and all that. No, but also facing jail terms, and also, like I was saying in another platform earlier today, also, that prevents you from even exercising the franchise of being voted for, because you are of a certain caliber that we do not want to replicate in the system. So while it is quite humorous to think that, oh, other opposition, which in very loose terms are often described as they do not necessarily have the bargaining chips to make offers to INEC officials. But I wouldn't say that is something that does not happen or cannot happen. But it is now left for the INEC Commission, to rebuild their integrity, if I may, and to restore the confidence of Nigerians that indeed that we can have a credible elections and there's nothing to be afraid of. But more importantly is for the electorate, knowing the kind of climate that we are in, that to even stay and protect their vote, and to capture the form after the elections, the votes are being counted, just to have proofs in case that they're going to be caught. Court proceedings, suits that are being filed, and also more importantly that the polling, the agents of the party agents should also, before you append your signature to whatever document, you should be sure that you agree with whatever that is being put there, because that was one thing that was being criticized at a certain point, that okay, if you had these concerns, why is your signature on this form, despite the fact that okay, on some other discussion fronts you find out that, oh, these were later adjusted, there were TPEX and all that, but there were also isolated cases, as it were, that you could still find the agent's signatures, and even though there were no distortment of any sort. So I think that the political parties also need to re-educate and sensitize their agents as they send them into the field to know what their job is and what is expected of them at the polls tomorrow.
So as for the ad hoc staff and INEC officials who often claim they are being intimidated as well and forced to do several of those things, you could see that they are overwhelmed. And you have already established that we have security agents that have to be a certain meters away from the polling unit and unarmed. So when you hear all these INEC officials come out later to talk about the fact that they were intimidated and they have to append and agree to whatever is being forced on them, and they have those papers that will eventually go to the collation center. And I need you, before you answer, to take into cognizance the mood of the nation right now. That was some of the problems that were faced before the coalition. That's why a lot of people felt like that coalition should not even have happened in the first place, or you should have taken into cognizance all these things that happened. What would your suggestion be moving forward? Because I know that INEC also have an opportunity to say, you know what, this isn't this. I answered this, or I wrote this under duress, you know, and that should also reflect into the proper results that we see. But what would be your suggestion for INEC?
Okay, now technology has actually made a lot of things easier for us, and so we have the opportunity to report things live as it is happening. Now, even whether you're an INEC official or not, once you see someone being forced to do something that they otherwise should not be found doing, or even if they should be doing, they should not be forced to do that. You can quickly report. There are numbers that, you know, the police have ruled out, the EFCC, that's in terms of talking about vote buying and vote selling, have put out there that you can easily contact. And talking about the police officers not being the police officers within 300 meters of the polling unit, they can be within 300 meters of the polling unit, but they should not be armed within that distance.
Right.
But those outside that distance can be armed. So in the case of violence or intimidation, the fact that you are a police officer already gives you the mandate to carry out your duty, if whether armed or unarmed, to stop you know, INEC officials from being intimidated. But what we often see that has always been the challenge is that these officials, these security, you know, police officers or military officers that it may be, sometimes are found complicit in to say that, oh, they've also been bought by whichever political actor you know, is seeking to rig the process. Right. So that is what we find challenging, that, okay, what are the police doing to ensure that they do not send, in fact, there shouldn't be officers that exist, because I was about to say they do not send officers that are more likely to, you know, give in, to become compromised, but they shouldn't even have such police officers in their system. So we're talking about that. It's such a big issue that until we have a total overhaul of the system, we cannot necessarily address this issue within weeks or days leading to the polls. It has to be something that is more deliberate, and a total overhaul that will actually, you know, gradually lead us to see those results.
Right.
But speaking to that, of course, the moment you should not, even for journalists, I know they say that to a lot of journalists, that no story is worth your life. So you should not, at the expense of your life, you know, try to maybe fight back,
argue with them.
But the moment, you know, you gain your freedom, or you are able to let the world know and report to your direct commissioner, whoever you are reporting to, that this is what happened and this result was being placed, you know, changed on that duress, or was being moved on that duress, they should be clearly informed so that they will know, according to the provisions of the Electoral Act, know the next step to
I must thank you, Deborah Yusuf, for being part of the program and sharing your insight. May the best one win. So I'm holding my breath to see what would eventually happen in a couple of days, to know who emerged where. But at this point, it's time to draw the curtains on Joy Asonye Live. Do have a wonderful day, and remember to vote in those states that are voting tomorrow. Have a wonderful day.